Hey everyone, this is Jackson Mumey at Celebration Bar Review. We're going to talk today in this video about 106 days until the bar exam and what you need to have faith in. So let's talk about what happens at 106 days to go. We're still a long way out from the bar exam, and I thought this week it might be appropriate to talk a little bit about what you want to have faith in, because faith is a relatively important piece of how you're going to get through your studies. Certainly, the closer we get to the exam, the bigger role that faith might play. John Yates wrote that faith is the victory we know that overcomes the world. He was writing in a spiritual context. It's faith that overcomes not only the world, I think, but it overcomes the bar exam in a lot of situations. There are things that I think you should have faith in, and I think there are things you probably don't need to have faith in to pass the bar. For example, do you need to have faith in your law school and in the teaching you received there and the work that you did to get through and pass law school? Well, the answer is yes, to a limited extent. But remember that law school and what you learned there was appropriate for that environment and that setting. But the bar exam is something quite different, and so you don't want blind faith. You want to be reasonable in what you do and how you apply it. Well, what should you have greater faith in? The very first thing, as simple as it sounds, but is so critical, is that you have to have faith in yourself that you're actually going to pass the exam. Now, if you're already registered in our course, if you do as we advise and you bring your best effort to the test, statistically and empirically, you're going to pass. The odds are very much in your favor. I think that there's an initial presumption, however, even if you've failed the exam previously or you failed in another jurisdiction, or as so often happens, you haven't taken an exam in 5, 10, 20 years maybe. But you still need to begin the process by believing that you can pass and that you will pass. I've seen the power of that kind of faith and belief do enormous and, I would say, relatively amazing things. Now, don't misunderstand, I'm not a firewalker, but I have seen people do things on the bar exam that I would think were nearly impossible simply because they believed they could do them. Believing without action isn't enough, but if they believed they could do them and they took the appropriate action, the results were pretty spectacular. So I think you have to begin with the belief that you'll pass. If you don't believe that you're going to pass, then I think the next reasonable question to ask is why. And then you've got to address those underlying concerns. If you're saying, I can't pass the bar because I don't write English properly or it's not my first language, then you need to work on your English writing skills. Or I can't pass the bar because in my current circumstances, I can only afford to spend 5 hours a week studying for a very short period of time. Well, then you need to change your schedule or change your test date. You begin to get the idea. You've got to get at the underlying problem that would lead you to believe that you can't pass the bar. The second thing that I think you need to have faith in is the provider, the bar review course, or the mentor that's taking you through the exam. That's important because if you don't have faith in your course, you're going to eventually run into real problems. Realistically, those of us who are professionals in this industry, who've done this for a long period of time, ultimately know how people can study and pass the bar. And I would say, if I had to compare, that even the worst big box bar review is better at preparing you than your friends, your colleagues, and your classmates, even your well-intentioned family members. All of those other people care about you more than the big box bar review, but they're not experts at the bar. And when you take a course like ours, clearly we do know what's going on, we know what you need to do, and we know you, we get to know you, and we care about you. But the point is that all of these family and friends who are undoubtedly experts about something are not necessarily experts on the bar. I can safely say, after working with literally tens of thousands of students, that I'm an expert at preparing people for the bar exam. The empirical results continue to demonstrate that we're really good at doing what we do. And if you don't believe that, you shouldn't be in our course, just like you shouldn't be in a big box bar review if you don't believe that it can help you be successful. If you don't believe in your course, you're not likely to be very successful. And I think you're going to find yourself constantly questioning and asking, is this the right thing to do? It's important that whatever course you take, you be all in, or what I would call teachable. It's very hard to work with a student who comes to us having failed a previous exam with another bar review provider and is mad at us before we even get started. Hey, we didn't tell you to take that course. It's not very practical. It's not very reasonable. So I think one of the things you have to have faith in is the service that you're taking. The third thing that you have to have faith in is perspective. This is a time when I see a fair number of bar students who get caught up in what we would think of as bar review minutia or trivia. They stray from their study guide or syllabus, the approach that we would provide them. They try to find their own way and decide what they want to do on their own, and invariably they get lost more times than not. They really need that GPS tracking system that only a good course can provide them. In our course, we've got decades of experience and perspective that comes from working with thousands of people over that period of time, provides for lots of experience and dealing with lots of situations. Sometimes I hear from people when they're thinking about choosing a course, they'll call me and say, "You've probably never heard a story like this. I've been 15 years out from law school and never practiced a day of my life, and I want to take the bar exam." You never hear that, really? I hear that just about every week. The point is, that kind of person is essentially in the middle of our demographic. And so perspective helps. We can say to them, this is what you need to be doing. So if you think you've got a completely unique circumstance, try me. The odds are that I've heard somebody in a similar situation as well. Having that perspective of what different circumstances are like allows us to empathize, to understand, and to help you optimize and resolve your studies. The truth is that a course like ours is far less likely to be caught up in the mania or the Where's Waldo level of trivia games that can be played during the bar exam, and therefore better able to help guide you to your destination, which is passing the test. Even if you're not in our course, whatever you're doing to prepare, whatever bar review or study approach you're taking, you want to keep perspective about the process. You'll be amazed at how effective that can be. It's always surprising when we're this far away from the exam, over 100 days, and we hear students say, "I'm really stressed out, I'm studying really hard," or even worse, "I'm way behind." Really? How can you be behind 106 days before the exam? That's not realistic. It's a loss of perspective. If you're feeling like you're losing that perspective, then stop, take a breath, consider where you are in reality. While studying for the bar is not fun or pleasant, you at least know where you stand. If you're in our course, you can measure that, and that will give you some perspective on where you need to be. The last thing that I think you have to have faith in, and it's a little politically incorrect, but I think you have to have faith in God. Now, let me be clear. I don't think you have to have faith in my God. I think you have to have faith in the God of your understanding. The point here is that it's absolutely critical that you understand that there's a bigger picture and a higher order, perhaps even a higher power than yourself. In other words, taking the bar is not the end game. It's a step to something bigger and I hope better for all of you. If this is all about you, which is where a lot of bar takers start, you lose the perspective that you need, that this is part of a bigger plan for your life and a bigger plan for what you do in the world. That broader perspective means the way that would help make for a better society, a better world, certainly a better life for you and your family, a better opportunity for you to contribute something and do something. That's the spirit of being a member of the bar that elevates people. We asked during our webinars, how would it change your life if you passed the bar? And the responses are absolutely staggering. Keep in mind that perspective and trust that. It will elevate your studies. It will elevate your test taking. It will elevate your practice in this profession. And it begins with the understanding that there's something bigger than yourself out there. If you don't have a faith life, I still think you can appreciate that you have a role in society that gives you the opportunity, but also requires you to bring your best skills and abilities. In this time when the rule of law is under as much pressure and challenge as it appears to be, we need people in the bar who care about the value of law in our society. When you have faith in something bigger than you just taking this exam, you're going to find that you've got the incentive to keep going when it's hard. I've found that when students are most discouraged and concerned, their ability to have faith, perspective, and belief in the God of their understanding takes them a very, very long way to being successful. Those are just a few things that I think you have to have belief in. If you've got other suggestions, I invite you to comment and let us know what you think is important. We'd love to see what things are significant in your life. We'll be back again next week as we continue our countdown until the bar exam. And I suppose it's only appropriate under these circumstances for me to say, keep the faith.